Hello everyone, and welcome to the second talk of today from the National Careers Service, which is support with your CV and covering letter, and how by getting these right it can help lead you to the interview stages of finding a job. What we're going to do is look at some of the more common mistakes that we see on CVs and covering letters and how to put these right. We're also going to look at the tools and resources that are out there to support you now, such as our website and some other websites I'm going to mention. And we're going to talk about how the National Careers Service can help you if you did decide to get in touch with us after today's sessions. So we're going to start with some common things that we hear from job seekers day in, day out, which is, I've applied for hundreds of jobs and nobody ever gets back to me. We hear if they gave me a chance, I could show them what I can do in the interview. How am I supposed to build experience if I can't get a job? And whenever an employer looks at my CV, they tell me I'm overqualified. Now, you may be able to relate to some or all of these. You may have said them yourself. So what we're going to look at is some common mistakes that we see on CVs and covering letters that could be attributing factors into why you're not progressing further. So the first thing we see is an unprofessional email address. Having an unprofessional email address puts off around 75% of employers, which is quite a large number. So if you've got an email address that maybe you've had since you were younger or for quite some time, it would be my advice to consider setting up a new email address account that you use solely for job applications that has a more professional feel to the address itself. Whilst it may seem obvious, spelling and grammar is still quite a big issue when it comes to CVs and covering letters. So the average time an employer spends reading a CV that has spelling or grammar mistakes is on average 5 to 7 seconds, which when you really want someone to take notice of what you've written in your CV or covering letter is not a very long time at all. Using the same CV for multiple job applications is also something we see quite regularly, but that's actually not a very good way to go about things. So sending a generic CV for a range of different jobs is likely to result in a lack of interviews. And finally, sending a CV that is too long. So rule of thumb is a CV should be no longer than 2 sides of A4. Employers are unlikely to read anything longer than that. And whilst you may feel that despite the fact you've gone on to 3 pages or more because it's all really relevant, there will be many people that have applied for that one job, and that employer needs to get through those applications as quickly as they can. So if they see a really long CV, they may not have time to read all the way through. So try and keep it as concise and as clear as you possibly can. Common mistakes with covering letters are the formatting. So a covering letter is exactly as it sounds. It's a letter. It's meant to look like a letter, which we often see a few mistakes when it comes to the formatting of covering letters. Again, similar to CVs, spelling and grammar is another mistake we see over and over again. A lot of employers will start by reading your covering letter before they go on to your CV. If they start spotting spelling and grammar errors in your covering letter, they may decide not to read your CV. So it may put them off at the first hurdle. And having an unprofessional tone in the covering letter can also be a mistake. So how you start and sign off your covering letter is important, and it's just as important to keep a professional feel and tone throughout your covering letter as well. So we're going to look at some useful tools and resources that can help you get started by putting sort of the tips that we give you today into practice as soon as this is finished, and resources that you can access from home. So the first place I want to turn your attention to is the National Careers Service website. We have a dedicated section on our website for how to write a CV. It tells you more about why we have to have CVs, why we use them, what they're all about, how to get started, the format and layout of your CV, what you should be including, and some top hints and tips to help you put it all together. To make things even easier for you, there is a free CV builder tool on the Reed website. The link there is for you on the screen. And if we want to go one step further, Reed also has some free covering letter templates that you can download. So you can use what we would suggest is best practice to compare what you have with the templates. We also have on the National Careers Service website a section on writing covering letters. So it goes through this section by section for you,